Yeah, let's talk about my art. And um, uh, just thinking. I thought maybe I should talk in English. Now I'm talking in German. No, I'm talking in English. Okay. Let's talk about my art. Without any concept or script. When I paint my SEAK letters, the S, the E, the A, and the K. The A and the E are usually round or small, though when I'm writing or typing them, I always type them large. And it's today I heard the concept of body styling, but that was in a protein shake looks maxing context. But I think maybe body style, my art connects with the body of the people. I know why it is. Maybe I shouldn't say why, but this is a dead ankle or a blind spot I never thought about so much. Anyways, different perceptions from my art. My art or my style, when I'm painting them, when I say it's a style, it means usually 4 letters, SEAK. A style can also be called a piece, but SEAK style can also mean like the style, how I paint itself, my visual language, but it can also mean painting a piece with these 4 letters in connection, saying the word SEAK. But I can also paint, let's say, another word in the SEAK style, but I can also come up with something different and a different aesthetic, with then also technically will be like my style, the SEAK style, depends. My first sketch I have here which is dated, is from 1979, from my mother. She dated it. And that was a truck on fax paper with crayons, with yellow, green, and lilac, purple crayons, bright green, and I painted like some kind of like a truck. LKW would be the German word, on this fax paper, and I still can remember the time or the day, how I painted it and why, and the teachers wanted something from me, and then I was asking for paper. This sounds like super, like the master artist asking for paper and the women are delivering it. And it was in a way maybe submissive or something, how the women were giving me the paper because I was asking for it. It was some teacher or pedagogue, like those teaching people. Maybe because they thought I'm strange or different, la-di-da-di-da. And I still can remember this. And I painted an LKW, or in Germany would say LKW, which is Lastkraftwagen. And that must be in kindergarten. And I think it was also on the kindergarten periphery, or maybe in school there, but it was definitely not at home. And I remember that they didn't have any other paper. And I've still analyzed why I painted this truck. I have the sketch here, I can show it. And there's other paintings or drawings, it's a drawing, from that time. And they're probably also earlier, because I have earlier memories of me sitting and drawing. And I remember it was like drawing a circle. And it was the first time I felt, how would you describe it these days, as being present. And I think I painted in circles, like a circle, all like this, something like this, sitting on the ground. That wasn't here. That was in Erftstadt, where I moved with my parents from here. This was the house for my grandmother, grandparents to Erftstadt, and I didn't like it there in the beginning. And interesting was also that in kindergarten, I was already trying to take influence and represent German identity, in a way, provide identity, because there was like this. I was sitting in the Türmchen, which means like little tower. It was like the kindergarten had like it looked like a non-finished a mixture out of a non-finished medieval castle, where they just stopped in the first floor with like slash Regelbau, West Wall, Atlantic Wall, German World War II, Wehrmachtsfortification, Reichsarbeitsdienst, RAD fortification structure, military compound, really badly painted on. It was in gray, I think with some other color, maybe yellow or something, like the 70s, classical 60s, 1960s, 1970s architectural sin, how you call it. And on the right side in the entrance way, it was painted like really low on knee height from other children, which looked really bad, and it was also too less paint and everything. And this was my first impression. I mean, vivid. That's how what children get. And I didn't want to go to the kindergarten. I wanted to stay at home. I was really annoyed about it in the beginning. Didn't like it at all. And then there was like, oh yeah, Claus is not interacting with the others. He's special. He's different. Blah blah blah. And then we had like, and on the they had like 2 or 3 Türmchen, means towers, which were like some kind of like the basic round shape of like a medieval tower, or which you have in a medieval castle, but just the basic thing, like say to the first floor, and maybe a little bit larger. And in those places there were like playrooms. And then at some point we were allowed to go there, and then we were all storming each group into each round room, and then we could play there. And there was like all the play toys laying around. And I remember it was like really stressy. We would go inside, like everyone had to go, and then it was like okay. And there was always they always made a fuss about playing a Porsche Turbo. Was like the cool car, which everyone wanted, Porsche Turbo. And I was really annoyed by it. Like I was annoyed also by this group hurt, not hurt in the sense of being hurt, but like hurt sheeple system. Everybody is saying that mentality that everyone must have now the Porsche Turbo, and this was like supposed to be like really cool and stuff like that, and turbo should meant like it goes extra fast or something. And for me that was I was annoyed by that. 2 reasons, maybe 2 or 3 reasons. One, this like everybody is saying that, blah blah blah. Then also the fact that it's a stupid civilian sports car. Maybe also from the word, maybe both stands for bottom also, it's always like, or maybe it's also the circle form, the O is like a surprise, and just from the phonetic level, this is also something I should analyze because it pre-primed me. And I thought let's test or check or show flag, not flag in terms of anti-aircraft. Let's show 2 colors, hoist the colors. Who is German here? And take some influence, say what's really cool. And then I was mentioning German tanks, bombs, and that was interesting. I'm getting goosebumps now, like I would do speed or something, like a soft wave. Anyways, no drugs. Like a sobriety, anything crazy I did was, I think 30, which is 34, 35, and then now I'm 51, so it's long gone. Anyways, the point was, the other kids also, or children also knew the tank names. We had also the forms, and then it was like, what was the best German tanks? And that was Königstiger, Tiger, Jagdtiger, you can see as King Tiger, the regular Tiger, Tiger 1, Tiger 2, Jagdtiger, Fuchs, Luchs, Panther, Puma, Sturmtiger, Leopard 1, Leopard 2, that was brand new. I think the Leopard 2 came the first time in the 70s, and then the Gepard. So, and we also, at least I knew the difference between World War II and Bundeswehr, like after the war. And for me, the Leopard 2 was like the new tank and good, and blah blah blah, the best German tank, proud. But the other tanks for me were more aesthetic, especially the Jagdpanzer and Jagdtiger and Sturmtiger, also with the shape and everything, from the aesthetic point of view. And what I also reckoned was, which I thought was annoying, that when I wanted to take maybe there was another toy which everyone was crazy about because it was called the Little Tiger. The Little Tiger was some kind of like cat-like wooden plate thing everyone wanted to play with because it's a tiger and tigers are cool and da-da-da. And then came this whole tank situation thing up. So, and that was for me important to show national, to be in a way. It was like, let's say it was an art performance, because then the system, there's people who are very, with very much intent writing and listening to what people are saying, or maybe I'm saying, and then those are the opposition who wants to get rid of people like me, not because I'm an artist, more like I have the wrong opinion also. So those are the most listen and watch the most concentrated or focused. And I was annoyed by that, and I reckoned then a pattern that if I have something which I like, a play toy, a car, a figure, something which the others wanted, someone took it directly from me away. And that, years later, when I thought about it, I reckoned it must have to do with the word Claus, and that was already recognizing that people are basically exhaling, saying, connecting their name into the world and bounding the energy of the name, and the name itself is also a pre-priming, indirect, embedded command to other people. And Claus means, there's different interpretations where this word connects with. It can mean off, because of the aus in Claus. Aus means off, like off. Or it can, Claus mean also to steal, or encourage someone to take it, to steal it, to rob it away. So, and I reckon they're a pattern. And maybe then I came up with the truck thing, because the truck thing is something no one wanted to play with. And then there was like, but then in that time, in the kids, in the children's scene, another hype animal, but car was the Unimog from Mercedes-Benz, which was like really cool thing. It was like a little truck, like a mixture out of a truck, a monster truck in a way, and a pickup truck, and a construction vehicle, and an 4x4 all-road, all-terrain vehicle, like really cool thing. And then I was like, if this is a smart idea to like Unimog, because it will later maybe pre-prime me that I will work on the taking care of streets, Straßenmeisterei, because those were the people who used that car the most, the people who take care of the streets and roads. And that's considered like a financially low job. Maybe it's not a good idea, la-di-da-di-da. Yeah, so I kind of like went already with that car in mind into a totally different context. Not that I wanted to become a soldier or anything. It was just a natural identity, German pride, male, becoming a male. A thing, I was also defending the country and everything, and back then it was already, we had like scene was like where there were the first invaders here. But I can't. This video is for YouTube, so I want to keep it here. I'm spending this time or my art here in a different way, and then I guess I will upload the video a little bit different regarding with other themes or things focused on Telegram. Yeah, so and that was in kindergarten, and I think in that time I also painted, also basteln. This means when you like glue things together with cartonnage or stones on cartonnage. I still have all this stuff, or like built like a lantern for Saint Martin and stuff like that. Beautiful memories, like childhood in general, that very first childhood. Maybe I'm chasing that, also that well-being, like being with myself. It was also, I wanted to also have friends and stuff, but it was also good to just be with myself. Maybe I'm chasing that when I'm painting, or that's a good thing when you have like a flow and you work in the studio alone. I mean, I also used to like a lot in the 90s and beginning 2000 years to work with other artists, like on large projects was a great thing. Like painting walls with lots of people, that's also good. Anyways, it was the kindergarten time. Yeah, and then in the Grundschule, in the elementary school, I was also in art as well as in class in general, because I didn't want to probably listen to what they're saying. I was already drawing boats. I was like hooked on ships of the line, like military, like lots of cannons, boats, and that was for me my thing. And I would have lots of papers here painting boats, and usually with not crayons, Buntstifte, which is like a little bit more thinner and drier paint. I still have those sketches all here. And I also painted with brush, like with placa paint, like full color paintings. But this is stuff every child is doing. I must say, military and history and marine ships and everything, and knights obsessed. It was an obsession, absolute. I mean, it was, and also reading a lot and watching books and stuff like that, everything. Movies, books, museums, completely addicted. And my connection to museums and also to art museums later, I would say in the beginning, and maybe from 2005-07 on, that I also went to art museums was very unusual and came because of Sylvia. Because before that, my absolute comfort zone were museums, but within an historic context. I was in childhood on always museums, completely demanding it from my parents. Museums, history, military, also marine ship museums and stuff. And military technique, German museum, also of course, planes, everything. That this was a must. And my parents had sorrows that because I was so obsessed with military history, with history in general, and everything. It was, like for example, I reverse engineered why I was so deep into history. It had also something to do with how the house here, where I was growing up in the first years of my life after I was born, is shaped. And my sleeping room, where I'm sleeping since, I don't know, 2007, it's under the roof. It looks like the window, it looks like a little bit too sharp-angled deck of a ship of a line, like the gun opening where the gun goes through. I know the English word for it. Like where they have like which just goes up and then the cannon goes through, and then it had like multiple cannon decks. I'm sounding like a full on like naive normie sheeple anyway, someone who has not a clue. I probably could have named everything when I was a child in German and then later in English in the correct terminology, because I was so deep into all that. So yeah, and then and it also looked like the monitor and the Merrimack, those two first ironclads fighting each other. Was it Louisiana, North Carolina, in the Civil War and the War of Rights? And then since then I'm always messing up which ship was the Monitor and which was the Merrimack. The ship with which looked like a Toblerone or like a long triangular, not with the round turret. The other, the guns they had on their side, they had this like a really sharp angled like this or like this. Side wall, and my window, my sleeping room window, which was also some kind of like guest room, sleeping room, but the room also where my father had studied, was, I remember discovering that when I was here with, then later when we went here visiting my grandparents, I was also looking there and it was interesting, and all the stuff there, the beds and everything was originally standing there. It was all stuff from the 1950s and 60s. And so it had like a certain charm. And it was, wasn't as boring and as stale and clean and ordinary as the usual, I don't know, like 80s, I guess, houses or interior designs or anything, and the wallpaper and everything is still from that time. I didn't touch it or anything. It's still original. So there's like different reasons. I can reverse engineer all this stuff. And I also was here on the weekends when I was at my grandmother visiting. It was like super nice, super cool. Cake, everything, all those fat cells, part of those fat cells are from that time, like different cakes and everything. And the thing is, the cakes were made here, and and my grandmother was baking and cooking, it was crazy. And they were like on a square form, like this, like 4 corners, cakes and cookies and food and all stuff. Also the plates like round. And nowadays, I'm having this forms here, creating also masterfully or like high quality, how you want to call it, things on it. So it pre-primed me to do this. It's interesting. I'm so superficial right now, but I can really like reverse engineer those patterns, which is probably not what an art market or some kind of high intellectual art people want to hear or anything, but it's like, because it's really essential and really basic and really simple. And I don't want to go too much into detail, because then other people will do the same and steal my idea to promote themselves. Anyways, so, and I was reading here a book, Unser Jahrhundert im Bild, which had like their Waffen-SS Leibstandarte in black peace uniform with white, how do you call that, Koppelschloss, Rüstzeug, here, like belt and everything in white, black and white, like marching. And then they had like on the other side, on the left side was the emperor in a white summer uniform with a metal cuirass, like in the armored breastplate from which the Germany had conquered after Waterloo. Prussia conquered after Waterloo, and with like a helmet with the eagle on. And on the right side was building a rocket for the Americans, like some kind of like V3 looking, still like a V weapon looking like rocket, but for the Americans, but German built or heavily German influenced, or Operation Paperclip, blah blah blah. But I didn't know that term back then, not consciously. So the point was, I was watching that book every time because it was nothing else. Wilhelm Busch, a thick book, that book, as well as like tabloid stuff from my grandmother, you know, like Frau im Spiegel, Bild der Frau, Neue Post, stuff like that. It was like those magazines women buy in supermarkets, where they discuss like the latest topic of Princess Carolina, Princess Stephanie from Monaco, la di da di da, and stuff like that, and who is with him and who, and you know. When I was like watching that stuff, and then usually, and before I could read, I was watching Wilhelm Busch. There's a little bit of Hieronymus Bosch, but I didn't like it too much. But it was another book, which was pictures, you know. It was like Wilhelm Busch, and it was Unser Jahrhundert im Bild, and that was before I could read, because they had just 3 television programs here, which were super boring, like German state television. Same amount of lies, but back then people didn't get it, was getting it as lies. And then later it was like 4 programs. It was like an extra 4 program was extra boring, and so I had to come up with something. So I was like watching this book, Boer War, Boxer Riot in China, Holodomor, Bolsheviks, Freikorps time, Kaputsch, Roaring 1920s, Third Reich, Korea, Kongo Müller, Wehrsportgruppe Hoffmann, Vietnam, but Vietnam was like, it was more like black and white, so the really cool pictures from Vietnam that wasn't there, plus the book was published in the 1970s. And before I could read, I was watching those pictures, and I was like, oh, this is what the adult people are doing. Okay. Plus I knew from my grandparents stories from World War II, so and from my other parents too. So this is like super superficial. I'm saying here I should do more and go more into depth with this in the future. But I also will probably do that and upload that then on Telegram, because for reasons. Putting that the art context. When I was with my grandmother or with my grandparents, I think I didn't paint it too much. I think I don't know of any. I think I didn't have memories here. I maybe did something like that, 1 floor higher there, but just 1 floor higher, sitting there with my table. And years before, when I was living here with my parents, and I remember going with my mother through the neighborhood and here in the wood, in the recreation area, and watching everything, watching people constructing, and yeah, it's a beautiful memory. My art, I could talk for hours or for days about my art, and I will do this. This is now almost 30 minutes. I think I will do another video.